Straight people, I'm going to let you in on a secret. Even LGBTQ people are tired of the LGBTQ community. What's up, everybody? Ty Rivera here, the absolute best LGBTQ comedian in the world. Okay, Billy Eichner, formerly Billy on the Street, he put out a movie called Bros, which is the first major studio-backed gay rom-com. It didn't do well. It made like $4.8 million. He blamed straight people, and I guess if that saves your ego, but really a big part of the problem is Billy Eichner just is not leading man material. Billy Eichner isn't charming enough to pull off leading man. I watched the movie, and I'm going to tell you, as a gay man, when I first saw the previews to it, I thought I'll check that out. And then Billy Eichner continued with his opinions in the media, and I felt like I don't want to support this guy. I don't want to support this movie. One of the things he said was regarding Dave Chappelle, which the thing he said about Dave Chappelle is annoying. It was just like, that people are trying to erase transgender people, blah, blah, blah. And he's not even talking about the laws. He was like, I'm talking about Dave Chappelle. Then he pulled a, come at me. But he said it at a Netflix recording for an LGBT comedy show. So I hate when gay people act like they're being revolutionary, but really they're just preaching to the crowd. You're in a gay audience. Nobody is going to dispute what you're saying. They're all going to cheer. So stop acting like you're being some kind of hero. He also said he does not want conservatives, especially those that voted for the 45th president of the United States and their associates, to see the film, even conservatives who identify as being part of the LGBTQ plus community, as he views them as traitors. Do you really care if it's a conservative or liberal that goes to your movie? I personally don't care who comes out to my comedy shows. I don't care if you beat your wife and your kid right before my show, as long as you guys make it out to my show. Come out to my show as an apology to your wife and your kid. Hit your wife, hit your kid. Just don't hit me up about the guest list. Buy an actual ticket. But what you do at home is what you do at home. I mean, I voted for Donald Trump, so apparently he doesn't want me to see his movie, and I wasn't going to see the movie. But then after it bombed, he went ahead and put out some tweets that I ended up reading about on social media, where he basically blamed straight people for not coming out. And why would anybody want to come out to an LGBT movie? LGBT has become so preachy and such a religion that you just can't go support a movie. Now it's got to be about supporting an entire agenda. And when you accuse people of being homophobic, which is one of the things he said, it was a tweet he put out where he said, if you're not a homophobic weirdo, please go watch Bros. And it's like, when people talk about homophobia, you're right, people are afraid of gay people right now, because so many gay people like you, Billy, have decided to start telling not only straight people but other LGBT people what they're supposed to think, to the point where every time you hear that somebody's gay or LGBT in general, you feel like there's a sermon coming. You feel like you're going to get told what you can and can't say, what you can and can't think, what you can and can't support. There are so many things that we're supposed to do and not do to prove our loyalty to LGBT. And that's, if you're gay or straight, you're supposed to do all of these things, jump through all of these hoops just to prove how open-minded you are. Well, maybe not everybody wants to be your version of what you think we're all supposed to be. So you're right, people are homophobic, but blame yourself, because it's people like you that have made them homophobic. It's people like you that have made people shy away from the community altogether, because nobody wants to work extra hard to please you. Nobody cares who you are. Nobody cares what you think. And clearly nobody watched your movie. And there was a part where the guy that he's dating says, being angry is your brand. And he's like, being angry is my brand. And I felt like it was so perfect, because it's like, yeah, that's your brand. And it's the brand of the entire LGBTQ community right now. People don't have to be homophobic to not be into your movie. Maybe your preview just didn't tickle them. Maybe they don't think you're particularly funny. And Billy Eichner's character in this movie is a gay that we all know as gay people. Like, it's a very annoying gay that we've all seen at the clubs and pretty much just ignore. I've seen characters like that at the clubs since I was first going to clubs at 17 years old, and it was always just this annoying, whiny gay that nobody wanted to be around. And I really think that that's what Billy Eichner's like in real life, and it's probably part of the reason that he wasn't very likable on screen. Maybe they weren't just drawn to the movie altogether. So now it's got to be homophobia for them to just not want to watch your movie. Of course you think your movie's great. You wrote it. You cast yourself himself as the actual star in it. So why would you not think it's great? But I have news for you, Billy. You're not great. Half the time it sounded like you were reading. When you're watching him in the beginning of the movie, it sounds like he's reading for the entire first part of it. It sounds like they're both reading at points. The guy he's supposed to be dating and then himself. So I really wasn't feeling the movie as far as it just being a movie. And I will tell you about the movie itself. So before we go any further, please like, comment, and subscribe. Billy Eichner put out a tweet saying that he snuck in at a theater and it was packed with people and they were laughing start to finish. Well, those people aren't very smart because the movie had cute moments, but it wasn't start to finish laughter. I watched in a theater. In all fairness, it was 11:30 a.m. on a Monday. When I first walked in, it was completely empty. And then 3 other people showed up as soon as the previews were over. It was me and 2 lesbians and a guy that looked like a lesbian. And I didn't hear a lot of laughing from them either. There were some funny parts. I mean, like, there were only like 2 or 3 parts that really made me laugh. Deborah Messing, Grace from Will and Grace, had a cameo and she was super funny in her cameo. I really did enjoy her, but it wasn't particularly great. It was just okay. It was just cute like a rom-com should be. And I get it. It's a rom-com, so you know what you're getting. But at the same time, I've got to be honest when I say, as an LGBT person of color, I'm tired of seeing white gays be the main character, and I'm tired of every opinion that I have having to be run by white gays. There's a point where his partner says something about him wanting to chill out for his parents because they're from upstate New York and he's living in Manhattan, and so they're kind of more small towny type people. And so Billy says to him, so you want me to be less me? And then he's all offended about it. But it's like the entire LGBT community has been asking a lot of us entertainers that are people of color to wait for white people to approve our messages anyway. So in a lot of cases, you're asking a lot of us to be less of us. Like in the movie, it did bother me that they used the word fag and faggy because there was a point where a lot of people were trying to come down on me because I identify as a fag. So I use the word fag all the time. And it was a lot of white gays coming down on me, even trying to protest shows because they were saying that I was using this word that I'm not supposed to use. Well, now Billy Eichner uses it and suddenly it's groundbreaking. So how is it it's groundbreaking if Billy Eichner uses it, but if I use it, it's self-hating and hateful? Oh yeah, that's because I'm brown and I'm supposed to wait for white gays to tell me what it is I am and am not allowed to say. And that's something that I and a lot of other LGBT people of color are tired of, is having to wait on white people to actually approve our words. There's also a part where his character says in the movie something about the straight gatekeepers of the world wouldn't allow us to succeed. Well, that's the way we feel about a lot of the white LGBT people, specifically white gay men, that think they're in charge of when we as people of color can actually succeed. So I feel you 100% in your dialogue, Billy, but I don't feel you in your actions. I don't feel you and your white gay brethren when it comes to trying to make it seem like you're fighting for all of us, when in a lot of cases you're keeping a lot of us down. And then Guy Branum is in it, who I've known Guy Branum for years, but Guy Branum is your typical go along to get along gay. He sometimes comes off as edgy, but really he's a go along to get along. He just wants to stay working, and I don't blame him in some ways, but I'm not going to pretend Guy Branum is groundbreaking. There's a lot of LGBT performers that happen to be people of color that have been doing groundbreaking things for a long time, but for some reason, because Hollywood is always going to be Hollywood, it's always going to be the white gays and the more acceptable LGBT that get to get in the door first. So I am not happy that your movie bombed, but at the same time, I think it's a lesson for you and other white LGBT to learn that as people of color and as other LGBT people, it's not enough to just be LGBT anymore. And yes, there were people of color in the movie, but they were just there as basic window dressing. T.S. Madison was in the movie, transgender black woman. A lot of us love T.S. Madison. She speaks like an actual trans person that I knew coming up, so I was happy to see her get a check, but at the same time, she just had a small part. Miss Lawrence was also on, which if you're not familiar with Miss Lawrence, she was on Real Housewives of Atlanta. I'm not sure what specifically she identifies as. It's not enough to just throw a couple black people in and be like, like, we now have people of color. We now have trans people. Yeah, for probably a total of 5 minutes. I'd be surprised if T.S. Madison and Miss Lawrence combined had 5 minutes of talk time in that entire movie. There was also a part in the movie where he's again dealing with the mother of his boyfriend in the movie, who's played by Amanda Beers, Marcy, off Married with Children, who everybody knew was gay forever. And that was cute, but there's a point where she mentions that she's a second grade teacher. And Billy Eichner's character plays the director of a museum. It's an LGBTQ specific museum. And then Billy asks the mother why she doesn't introduce the second graders to LGBTQ history. And she says she just thinks it's too young to talk to them about that. And then he gets in this whole argument with her. And I felt like, again, you're trying too hard to push an agenda. And I get it that maybe you think this is your moment to do that and you think everybody's going to hold you on their shoulders. But for a lot of us, we're fine with people taking time to introduce their kids to gay. We're fine with people not thinking that your kids should have to go to a drag brunch. We're fine with people not bringing their kids to gay pride events where gay men are, in some cases, pretty well naked. Actually, I am not big on the kids being there anyway because I go to gay pride to be an adult. If there aren't kids there, I'm 100% fine with that because that means I can just be a grown-up and do what I want to do with other gay men and not think about what anybody's kids are seeing. And so a lot of the stuff that the movie goes over is just things that straight people aren't going to care about. It just wasn't groundbreaking enough if you're LGBT, and it wasn't inclusive enough if you're straight. And I saw some of the comments that were supporting him because there were a lot of comments on both sides in Twitter. There were some that were like, stop being a crybaby. There were others like, I love the movie. There were others that were like, there was one that ended with, let's end heteronormativity. Well, let a straight person post, let's end homosexuality, and the gays will go crazy. The whole LGBT community will try to cancel that person. But if you say, let's end heteronormativity, then suddenly we're all supposed to cheer you on and be like, you're a hero, you're a great person, you're right, we should end heteronormativity. How about you just shut up? How about you guys just stop ruining the LGBT community by trying to force everybody into your stupid agenda? And like I said at the beginning, even other LGBT people have gotten tired of the LGBTQ community because it's just like, yeah, I'm gay. I'm cool with people thinking differently than I do. I don't need everybody to agree with me on everything. And I'm tired of LGBT people trying to cancel other LGBT people because they're not saying things the right way, because they're not saying things exactly the way you want them to say it. And I'm tired of them doing that with straight people too. Just accept that sometimes people are going to think differently than you. And if somebody doesn't go out to support your movie, maybe it's because your movie just didn't particularly strike them. Maybe it's not about homophobia. I told you guys, at first I had it marked in my mind that I was going to watch that movie. I was going to keep an eye out for it. Then he said some stupid stuff in the media, or what I consider to be stupid stuff in the media. And I'm like, okay, maybe this movie isn't for me. Maybe I shouldn't make time for this movie. But by the time the movie rolled around, I didn't even know it had come out. The advertising was off as far as I went. Billy was too busy trying to flex his superstar friends like Mariah Carey and Chris Evans instead of actually marketing to the people that the movie is actually meant for. Yeah, I did see ads on Grindr, but instead of going to mainstream celebrities, what I should have seen was a lot of porn stars and gay influencers talking about the movie instead, and that would have got it out to most of us. So if I didn't know it had come out, and I'm on social media quite a bit, I admit I don't watch TV, but I don't know a lot of people that do watch TV at this point. But I'm on social media enough that I should have seen advertisements for it a lot more than I did. I didn't even know it had come out until I saw on social media that he'd been whining about it on Twitter, and then I went and checked his tweets, and then I was like, you know what, I'm gonna make a video about this because I think it is important. I think it is important for people to know that LGBTQ people are sick of having all the things forced on us that are being forced on you as straight people, whereas like you're expected to be accepting of these things. We're expected not to have any other opinions than the ones that we're told to have, and that's LGBT people in general that feel that. But then when it comes more specifically to LGBTQ people of color, we're expected to not only go along with everything we're told we're supposed to go along with, we're also expected to bow down and take a back seat to the white gays because for some reason their voices are always going to be more important than ours, and we're always going to have to wait for our messages and our words to be approved by white gays in order for it to be acceptable. And the truth about LGBT people of color is in a lot of cases, yeah, we are more willing to accept people with different opinions because our parents and our grandparents aren't always going to be the easiest and most accepting of it. So we basically just have to understand that not everybody's going to just agree with us and go with our thoughts. So we do have to make certain compromises and certain allowances for our elders to think the way that they think, and then we kind of work around that until they come around. And eventually, usually they do come around, but they don't just give in to us right away, which I think is different for a lot of white parents. I think a lot of white parents are a lot more willing to just accept from the beginning. So when we're not being understood as LGBTQ people of color, but we're also supposed to support your shitty movie where you're obviously the star, the main character, and who we're all supposed to be dazzled by, maybe once in a while it's going to backfire like it did this time. And instead of you getting what it is you actually want, people are just going to be like, no, I'm going to go ahead and sit it out. And I would be willing to bet that there were a lot of other LGBTQ people that were just like, yeah, I'm just going to pass on this movie because I'm not trying to support this message all around. So you're trying to blame straight people, but really there's a lot of people that might not have chosen to go out to your movie, and for a lot of different reasons. LGBT conservatives wouldn't want to go out to your movie. LGBT people of color don't necessarily feel included, so they don't necessarily want to go out to your movie. LGBT people that aren't conservative but don't agree with certain things that the LGBT community is pushing, they're not going to want to go to your movie. Dave Chappelle fans aren't going to want to go out to your movie. There are a lot of people that won't want to go out to your movie, and it is in large part because of you and your opinions. So while I respect your right to have your opinions, I don't think it's necessarily smart to try to put conditions on who can come out to your movie based on their political beliefs, which really isn't based on their political beliefs, is more based on your political beliefs because you're the one putting up the boundary and saying, don't come out to my movie. So when you say don't come out to my movie and people don't come out to your movie, don't be surprised and don't whine about it because you got exactly what you wanted. You said don't come out to your movie. They didn't come out to your movie. Now your movie made $4.8 million. It's considered a flop. You're on Twitter crying about it. Nobody wants to hear you. You're an annoying personality. So enjoy reaping what you've sown, Billy Eichner, and enjoy those low numbers and the fact that your movie that you love so much failed. Anyway, let me know what you guys think down below in the comments. This has been Ty Rivera, the absolute best LGBTQ comedian in the world. There are a lot of LGBT conservatives, and I know this because I've met a lot of them. And in a lot of cases, when there are fundraisers or there is money that needs to be raised for the LGBT community, a lot of times that's conservative people, gay and straight, that are actually contributing to these things, and mainly because they need a tax write-off. But it is what it is.